Well, we are back. Like I had said, we were looking like we were going to see some upgrades, and I had told you that we were going to be back with a video if it was necessary today, and we actually do have double slight risks. Not today, but tomorrow, but we do actually have a slight risk today. Sorry about that pulling up on your screen. I just had to grab my pen, but here we are. Day one outlook. Slight risk back here in Texas and Oklahoma. This is near the Dallas Fort Worth area. We do have a very large marginal risk extending from portions of central Texas back into portions of eastern Ohio. And we do actually have another marginal risk. This does extend from portions of Nebraska back into portions of Minnesota and Iowa. And today we actually do have two separate 2% tornado risks, one back here in Minnesota, Iowa, and South Dakota, and another one back here in Oklahoma and Texas. Very small, confined 2% tornado risks, but we are watching those very closely. We do have 5% wind and three separate 5% hail risks, as you can tell. And we do actually have a 15% hail risk back here in portions of Oklahoma and Texas. That is what our slight risk is driven by. And moving on to tomorrow, we're going to actually go from lowest level to greatest level for tomorrow. Lowest level, we do have a marginal risk of severe weather extending from portions of western New York back into portions of Tennessee. Then we have a marginal risk from portions of Wisconsin back through Texas. Then we do have a slight risk here in portions of Nebraska, Missouri, and Iowa. And then the greatest area that people have been talking about are slight risk of severe weather in the plains, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. And this has actually been shifted a bit to the east, as you can tell. And tomorrow, we do have a 2% tornado risk, although I definitely could see this getting upgraded if we can get some more wind shear into this area by our strengthening low-level jet. And if we could see some more prefrontal storms fire in front of our line, I definitely think we could get upgraded like 5% tornado probabilities back in portions of eastern and central Oklahoma. Two separate 5% wind and 15% wind risks, and two separate 15% hail and a 5% wind risk. Moving on to the day 3 outlook, I usually do not actually show models for the day 3 outlook, but today it kind of seems necessary, and I honestly think we're going to have a marginal risk across this area whenever the update comes out here in a little bit, and we're going to have a slight risk across this area, and I will break that down in a moment. But as of now, marginal risk in effect. Now here's what radar could look like today. And as we push it forward, we're going to be watching for some storms here around 4 p.m. to respark up from our morning convection in Oklahoma. We're really watching here along the Red River for any of these storms, even near the DFW area, for a isolated brief tornado potential. Pushing it north here, we're watching for that wind, hail, and tornado potential. And honestly, it's not too concerning. Back here in Minnesota, we are going to get storms, but clustering does look like it is going to be a pretty big problem. So we're going to watch it, but overall I think the tornado risk is very minimal along with the hail risk. It does look like wind could be predominant because it is clustering storms, but overall I still think the threats are very low. Moving on to the HRRR today over here in the Ohio Valley, and we're going to see some storms fire up within the next hour, it seems. And these are going to be some low-end severe risks, damaging winds, and marginally large hail. But overall, nothing too concerning today, and tomorrow definitely looks like the more intense day. And here's the HRRR for tomorrow. And as we move forward, we're going to see these storms start to fire. And these storms, it is going to be long track from eastern Colorado all the way through northeastern Oklahoma. So it's definitely a very widespread risk. And as we move forward, we're going to see even more storms form around the 10, 11, midnight, 1 o'clock hours on Tuesday too. So we're watching this. So this is a very overnight threat. that we are watching back here in Oklahoma. They're all kind of going to congeal together. And although it does not look that intense, 18Z is going to be coming out soon. And if it is necessary, I will make another video over 18Z just for tomorrow. But I do think this risk is going to be, it's going to be more intense than it's showing right there. So we're just going to watch it closely, and a second upload today is definitely possible. And here's a look at the RRFSA model, not used very often yet, as it is going to be a replacement model next year. But as we move it forward, we are really going to see the storms fire up. And you can tell as I'm a bit more intense, but a lot farther to the north across this area. And we're kind of just watching for any of these storms that get going, even maybe a bit behind it to the south, as those are going to be our tornado producers. Like I said, I would not be surprised if we got 5% tornado probabilities warranted across that area. And here, I don't usually go over, like I said, the day 3 outlook, but I feel it is necessary, as on Tuesday we're going to see some storms really fire up. And it is just a very large area of supercells, it looks like, that are going to explode. And this is a pretty good environment too, and they're going to form into a line posing that damaging wind risk. But this definitely could be an intense day. And I do think that today, tomorrow, and Monday, or I should say Tuesday, today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, we need to be weather aware in multiple areas, as we have risk areas in a very large area, high population centers. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on the sky. And here we are as we move on to the GFS and the jet stream. Well, what is causing all this, you may be asking? And here is where our jet stream currently sits. Our jet stream is lifted up here to the north. And so all of this is detached from our actual jet stream. So we have a couple different areas, multiple lows. So we're definitely watching, but it's because it's all detached from our main jet stream. And if we go ahead and pull this forward some, we can see as we head into tomorrow, we're going to get a bit more wind shear back there in the plains. And if we take a sounding, actually, just to see, I don't want anything like whenever the storms are happening yet. I just kind of want to see like how much cape there is. So on this sounding, there's about 1,100, about 1,000 D cape. Shear is not the greatest, but we're still going to have to be watching it. So we're definitely going to keep a very close eye on this as we head throughout Monday. And we actually try and grab a few soundings here at the end. But as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to see our jet stream. It's going to try and return further to the south. But we're going to see another area, a low pressure, is probably going to develop and promote some severe weather across a pretty large area, as we're going to have some good wind shear in those areas too. As we head forward, we may actually have to watch a potential hurricane come close to the United States, almost like a path like Aaron did. So we're definitely going to be watching that closely. We're just going to have to watch a bunch of short waves as we move throughout the rest of September and as we head into October. And this is what radar could look like here as we head throughout the rest of the month. If we take a sounding, I guess, if you guys, I feel like we can take a sounding. Let's take a sounding out here in Arkansas, actually for Wednesday's system, marginal severe. So, does not look too intense, but I think once we get closer, I guess you could say like tomorrow, we will have a video tomorrow morning, just so you guys know. Early tomorrow morning, we are going to have a video out. So, we're going to watch that closely. Also, the system that comes close to the United States, it could be a Category 1-2 hurricane, although it is very early. We're still watching that closely. Because yesterday it did not even look like it was going to develop. All of a sudden now it looks like it. Looks like, I mean, it's picking up on like maybe a bomb cyclone too. So, crazy things the GFS does. And here's a look at the Euro, and it is not fully out yet. But it's just a bit of a higher resolution, longer model. As you can tell, it's showing a bit of a messy setup on Tuesday. Monday night into Tuesday, but still have to be watching it closely because anything can happen with the weather, and things are definitely going to change between now and tomorrow And it's kind of crazy to think, but still, yeah, lots of things are going to change. Just make sure you have tornado action plan in place, know where you are going to go if and when a warning is issued. And here's a look at Hurricane Gabrielle. Now it is a hurricane now. And Bermuda does look like it is going to stay out of the way by a decent margin here. And it is going to really hook out as a fish storm. Now, I don't know the name of these islands over here. If you do know, feel free to put them in the comments section. But it does look like tropical storm impacts are going to occur from those. And here's a look at the track that Gabrielle may take. And as you can tell, head straight for those islands and up towards the United Kingdom and Ireland. So we're watching that closely. And chances have actually been on the rise for this system here. You can tell our area of interest currently is not in the area that we think it is going to develop. It is currently outside. But once it hits this area, we do actually think that this definitely could develop. We're up to 40% chances now. As this gets closer, we're actually starting to get a increase in chances. And this is the system that we were seeing potentially track really close to the United States. Now keep in mind, this is a good 7 to 14 days out. So we're watching it closely, but it's just something that we have to keep a very close eye on, as things can change very fast. And something could change as this develop further back, take a more southern track, more northern track, more to the west track. So just make sure you're keeping an eye out. And here's a look at the expected track as of now. You can tell struggles to develop, and then it actually gets its act together as it moves by Cuba, and it develops into a around category 1 to category 2 hurricane, clipping the east coast and heading up right around the northeast before it hooks out. And then right behind it, it looks like we may have another system that takes a similar path as a tropical storm. So it looks like the tropics definitely could be heating up right now. Here's a look at the Euro, and it's not going to go far enough out, I don't think. It may. Let's see if it does. It does not appear like it is going to. So as it developing, if we go ahead and head back to 0Z, and you can tell it has it staying east of Bermuda, so that is something that we have to watch too, is the model discrepancy. So just keep an eye out and just check back on the channel for updates, as we will likely be trying to update daily. And last thing before we end off, I did want to go over the excessive rainfall outlooks. And we do actually have a marginal risk back here in California and Arizona today. A marginal risk back here in Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, Oklahoma. And we do actually have a slight risk of excessive rainfall back here in Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. We do actually have a teeny tiny marginal risk back here in Florida. Just right there in the bottom of your screen. Barely can tell. And here's the day 2 outlook, and we have another marginal risk back here in California, Arizona, and it extends into New Mexico. And we have another marginal risk that extends from portions of Colorado back up through Ohio. So very large areas. The day 3 excessive rainfall outlook, we do have a slight risk of excessive rainfall in place. We do have a marginal risk in place as well across a very large area. And then we do have one over here in California too. So California is finally going to see some rain after starting off the year with some fire conditions. Day 4, we do have another slight risk, and it kind of starts to shift east each day with a very large marginal risk surrounding it. Marginal risk back here in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, and a marginal risk back here in California and Nevada. And on the day 5, we do have a slight risk again, and a very large marginal risk surrounding it. And then California still is going to be seeing some excessive rainfall, it does seem. So it does look like California is going to be getting some decent rainfall over the course of the next 5 days. Here's a look at rain totals. You can tell it does look like California is going to get a widespread 1 to 3 inches anywhere from central California south. But you can tell here, anywhere from portions of New York back through portions of Wyoming, we could see widespread rain. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.